Okay, my fourth video that I'm going to do in this series of correcting some of the common errors in kettlebell movements. This one is going to be on the kettlebell swing, and we'll talk a little bit about single hand swing and also about the two-handed swing. So the most common error, there's a bunch of errors people make, but one of the most common errors people make in the kettlebell swing is they round their back. I don't care if you're picking up the weight, putting down the weight, or swinging the weight. Your back needs to be arched, or you need to have a neutral spine or a flat back. Again, if you're a gymnast, you don't need this super hyper arch, but you need it to be flat. You cannot round. 0% rounding is acceptable. That's probably one of the most common errors. Keep that tight. A great way to strengthen those muscles to make sure you're not rounding is do some back extensions on a back extension machine. They also sometimes call them hyper extensions, although I don't want you to hyperextend. I want you to go to neutral, which is the extension of your lumbar spine is 0 to 5 degrees, so we shouldn't go much more than that. Now, that's the most common error. We just need to stay tight when we're doing that. We also need to keep our core tight. We don't want jelly donut happening, right? We don't want to swing way out here and everything comes loose in the core. You got to stay tight in your core if you want to do effective swings. And again, if you want to keep yourself safe, because again, keeping your core tight, right, activating these muscles in here, the obliques and transverse abdominis, that sucks in and keeps the core tight so we don't blow out a disc, okay? So without rounding, so make sure you're not rounding and make sure you're keeping your core tight. Those two things will definitively protect your back. Now, people can get hurt very easily doing kettlebell swings wrong, so that's something you want to watch for. Another thing I see when people do kettlebell swings that I'm not a big fan of is they use shoulders. This is a 0% shoulder movement, and when I say 0, I mean 0, okay? You do not use shoulders, okay? I mean, you'll use some muscles back here, right? Rhomboids and trapezius muscles. You know, these are muscles that we're going to use to stabilize, keep our shoulders in external rotation. Again, you can watch my video on technique for the swings, things like that. I don't want this video to get too cumbersome, but what I want to make sure is we are not doing this. Lift, it's a shoulder raise, right? Shoulder raise. That is a common error. This is not a shoulder exercise. We have other things we can do for shoulders. So make sure you're using hips. This is a hip drive, okay? It's just a hinge. Same thing as the biomechanics for a deadlift. It's a hinge and then hip drive. Hinge, shoot those little points here straight forward. Don't arc it. That's another quick one there. That's another common error, okay? When I'm doing a kettlebell swing, I'm not trying to scoop my pelvis up and out. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this effectively, okay? I like the hinge version of the kettlebell swing. I like the hinge back, hinge forward, hinge back, hinge forward, back, forward. This is good. I've also seen the pendulum style, which is fine. So we swing and we kind of... So you see my knees? Look at my knees. That's where you see the difference. I'm still using my hip drive. I'm not scooping, right? My drive, I may pendulum back and come forward, but once I hit neutral, once I hit vertical with my hips, they drive forward, they don't scoop and keep going, right? I don't keep shoving the hips up and forward, okay? If you know what Newton's cradle is, it's that little metal, those little metal balls attached to the strings, and when you drop one, it hits, and they go up in an arc, right? But the force, when it comes down, goes straight across. That's what you want with kettlebell. I don't care if you use the pendulum style, that works. I don't care if you use the hinge style, that works. Just don't shoot your hips up, trying to push the weight up. It'll go up. It's attached to these ropes called your arms, and the drive sending it forward, it's going to guide up in an arc by being attached to your arms, okay? So that's another common thing that I see. So we're going to make sure we keep the back arched. We're going to make sure we don't arc with our force, okay? Let's see. Another thing that you may see with the kettlebell swing, I also mentioned the shoulder thing. Another thing you may see with the kettlebell swing, if we're doing it like an American swing, they call them, overhead, we see this a lot of times. I see this a lot, okay? Press, swing, press, swing, press. Now, if you want to call it a swing to press, cool. And if you're happy doing that, cool, but that's not a kettlebell swing. If I want a kettlebell swing to go overhead, I'm going to shoot it overhead with the power of my hips, catch it here, nice external rotation shoulders, bam, stop it, bam. I am not pressing anywhere in that movement. The only shoulder you're using for that is to catch and make sure we don't let that thing go flying over our heads. Okay, so these are, again, some common things you will see. The last one that I want to cover with you is, I call it the squat swing. Okay, if I do this, let's go over here so you can see better. Okay, now I'm not saying this doesn't work muscles. This is a squat. This is a squat with a kettlebell, I don't know, arc to it or something. I mean, I'm still using mostly the power of my legs. I'm not using very much shoulder here. But this is not a kettlebell swing. A kettlebell swing is not a squat. It's a hinge, or it's, like I said, that pendulum, but it is not a squat. So what I like to do, if you do the pendulum, you're going to have a shifting forward of the shins a little bit. If you do the hinge, your shins stay exactly vertical. It's my preferred style. It doesn't mean it's a better style. Most people in kettlebell sport tend to use that pendulum. I tend to use the hinge. They're both great, as long as you're doing proper technique. What we don't want is, we don't want to squat down with the weight, okay? Squats are fantastic. That's not what a kettlebell swing is. If you have any questions, let me know. Stay strong. I'll see you next time.